What about the sport draws you? Is it the strategy, the physicality?
Definitely all
something
those
else?
things. Yeah. I mean, as a kid, before I could put words to it, it was those things. You know, I liked the strategic play of it. It is incredibly challenging physically. I loved that. You know, very type 2 fun here, like very miserable as you're doing it. And then you're done. You're like, that was awesome.
I can so relate to that comment.
Right? It's
Nice.
like
Yes.
so great. So then as I got older and I feel like I could reflect on it more, I really loved how it was such a mirror for like how I wanted to be as a woman and how I wanted to improve in aspects of that, you know. And I felt like it showed me those qualities and how I was, you know, if I was improving in them and how I could improve in them, and taught me self-reflection in such a way that's just improved me as a person.
All right, good Saturday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to True North. I am your host, Derek Hobbs. It is October 26th, just about the end of October coming upon us, and we're going headlong into shopping season. Hopefully you folks are going to get out and about while we still have a little bit of warm weather out there and enjoying the beautiful Colorado landscape. It's a great place to hike, bike, hang out with your pooch, do whatever you do, but make sure you do it well. So, you know, this is a great time of year. You know, Halloween's coming. It's going to be here and gone in a second. And, you know, I saw Christmas decorations up, Sarah.
Oh, no.
This was like 3 days ago.
I heard that like the earlier you celebrate Christmas, like the happier you are. Like happier people start celebrating and decorating for Christmas earlier.
Well, there you have it, ladies
So
and
let's
gentlemen.
start in April.
And that beautiful young lady is Sarah Hilderbrant. She is a gold medalist for Team USA Wrestling, 50 kilogram.
Woo woo!
This is going to be a fun hour. So anyway, she's going to hang out with us for about an hour after I get through some announcements here, but I can't wait to hear her story. She's a Indiana?
Granger.
Yes,
Indiana girl, Hoosier.
Okay, she's a Hoosier. Okay, but she went over to Paris and stole some gold. And I'm pretty excited to unpack that.
Oh, me too. I made out like a bandit. It was a lot of fun.
It was a good week.
It was a good week, one would say.
Absolutely. Well, welcome home. Glad you're with us.
Thank you.
We'll get to you in just a moment. But before we do, quick moment of silence for our Air Force Falcons. They are 1-6 going into an off week, a little bye week. So hopefully they'll rebound here, as you can tell. I am not a fair weather fan. I'm always an Air Force fan. I'm always an Ole Miss fan first, but then I come back to Air Force when I'm here at home. So Ole Miss is 5-2 going into Oklahoma today, and that's going to be a rough day at the office. I hope they play the kind of Ole Miss ball that they were scheduled to play on the way out this season. They got Oklahoma. Always a tough game, but as Oklahoma has seen, and now Texas has seen, welcome to SEC football, because it is no bueno, man. It is not easy. Everybody just about has taken a loss in the SEC. So big doings there. But next time the Falcons are home, they are with Fresno State here November 9th. And then we got a really cool game. Oregon State, I think it's their first time here at Falcon Stadium. You can head over to the Kutra Center as well, get some tickets out there. Air Force Athletics, good time. November 16th for Oregon State, by the way, 1:30 game. That's going to be the last one of the season before they head out to 2 more road games and hopefully finish up the season close to 500 this year. So rebuilding season, but it's always fun to go to an Air Force football game. NCAA Division I athletics right here in Colorado Springs.
So fun.
It is fun.
So much fun.
That stadium should be packed week in and week out.
Gorgeous. I've actually never been, so I don't know.
We're going to remedy that.
I'm guilty here.
We're going to remedy that. Okay, we're going to get you, and is it Donathan?
Yes.
Okay, is he here?
He's here.
Okay, we're going to get you and Donathan up there.
Oh, I would love
All right, October 26th, that's today, if you're listening. The coffin races in Manitou Springs are underway. 8 o'clock till about midday. It's fun. It's a traditional event down in Manitou Springs. They just raise all kinds of crazy down there. And should be a fun night or fun afternoon. Pioneer Museum, Night at the Museum starts at 4:30 tonight here in downtown Colorado Springs. And then Dia de los Muertos, the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, November 1st and 2nd. They're doing this fantastic performance at the Pikes Peak Center. Folks, I got to tell you, I've seen more young people going to the Philharmonic and Symphony than I've ever seen in my life.
You know what? That is actually something I have done. So
Yes.
it is so
very therapeutic.
Oh my gosh, yes, it is so therapeutic. It's so nice.
Cool. I love going. So, and then Neil deGrasse, the famed astrophysicist, is coming to Colorado Springs. He'll be here November 13th at the Pikes Peak Center as well. That's a 7:30 show. You can go to Pikes Peak Center in your search engine on Google and look for Neil deGrasse tickets. But I would check out that Dia de los Muertos thing. That's kind of cool. And there's a few more days at Boo at the Zoo, the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, one of the best zoos in the world, certainly one of the highest, if not the highest zoo in the world. So the 25th through the 27th, all weekend it's open. And then, of course, on Halloween night, the 31st, you can go from 4 to 8:30, have a little bit of fun out there. That's at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. And then we've got one more week of Arts Month. So there were over 240 different events happening this October. So hopefully you took a few of those in. If you didn't, you still got about a week. And you can go to peakradar.com and find out what's going on, or Copper, COPPR, and check them out. There's still a ton going on. Now, that doesn't mean Arts Month is over. Arts is constant. It's always happening. So you can get out there and do concerts. You can do painting and wine. You can do all kinds of things. What's your bag for
Oh my
the
gosh.
arts?
Well, first of all, every single thing you just said sounds so fun. And maybe I've been too entrenched in training, but that sounds awesome. I need to get out there way more. I'm like, wow, I'm putting that on the calendar. Yeah, no, I do a lot of reading and writing and, oh my gosh, anything artsy. So painting and wine, like that sounds great.
Well, and if you've got, let me borrow my North magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was stealing it.
So in this edition, if you're a subscriber to North, you know about this, but this is a great story on Randy, by the way. He was in here a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about his journey from Champion, Ohio, just 53 miles away to the Hall of Fame in Canton. So pretty cool story. Anyway, very modest guy, great story. If you watched football in the 70s and 80s, you know this guy. It's Orange Crush. But inside this folio is a ton of opportunities and things to do in this community. We have the Colorado Springs Philharmonic schedule in there, not just October, but into November. And, of course, all kinds of fun things to do in November, everything from corn mazes to you name it, painting classes to theater works, you name it. It's happening out there. Great culinary scene. And we just want to make sure everybody feels like they know what's going on. So if you want to subscribe, it's free. I'll send it to your mailbox free of charge. coloradomediagroup.com/subscribe. All right, well, let's get to the real point we're here. Because you only want to spend a few seconds listening to me moo into the microphone.
Nonsense.
This is Sarah Hilderbrant, Olympian and Olympic gold medalist.
Woohoo!
Oh my gosh, dude.
I love that.
Has that sunk in yet?
Oh my gosh, no. I don't even know. It is still so surreal. Like, I don't even have the words for it. I'm like, it took like a solid month of waking up every morning and being like, okay, this is what happened. It's real. Proceed. Proceed with the day.
That is
accordingly.
Awesome. That is awesome. And does it change your perspective, outlook? I mean, that moniker is now on you for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah. No, that's so cool. I don't know. I think I have so much more like reflecting to do with it. I've definitely been in like a whirlwind of travel season. Mm-hmm. But in some ways, I guess, it changes for sure. But in other ways, it's like I was working really, really hard going into the Olympics to like truly believe that like the results don't, define my worth or define me.
Very good. Very good.
And so I think once it all came said and done, I was like, bits and pieces change. But at the end of the day, I knew that this wasn't going to define me ultimately. So it was like, okay, this has just been an insane experience. And I have this title now that I can put a name to this experience with. But ultimately, I'm still just crazy Sarah over here.
Crazy Sarah, tons of high energy, and I love that about you. Well, let me do the appropriate introduction. So you were a two-time Olympian. Mm-hmm. You were a bronze medalist in Tokyo in 2020. Paris 2024, you took away gold. And then you're a four-time World Championships winner You've got 2 silvers, one at the 50 kilogram and one at the 53 kilogram. We'll get into that later. And then 2 bronze medals.
Yes.
Okay. So gold has eluded you still in world championships.
Yeah.
Is that a thing in your mind?
Well, honestly, it's been a thing in my mind for a while. It eluded me at the Olympics, at World Championships. It was like such a pattern. I was like, oh, maybe it's not meant for me. So that made this one so much more special. I truly think like all the quote unquote failures or just like missteps were like, it just made this so much more special. You know, it just was so many years in the making. So, but yes, the World Championship one evades me, and I'm deciding if I
really
want to run the gauntlet again, give it a try.
Run the gauntlet, she says.
Got to collect it.
Well, you did well. Obviously, it was a lot of fun to watch you guys. That was an interesting day, though, for you, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Because it was off again, on again for a minute, right? Is that
chaos? Yes, yeah. It was absolute chaos.
So that had to play with your mind. I really want to unpack kind of what that was like as a former athlete myself, and just anybody out there who's kind of thought they had it. Oh, it's done. It's over. Yeah. And then, nope, it's not. I got to go back to work.
Yeah, that relaxation that happens, or not even a relaxation, but just like a huge exhale and like an adrenaline dump, essentially. Like once I was told I was done competing, it was, and then an hour and a half later, they're like, oh, just kidding, girl.
Just kidding.
You're not the Olympic champ. Nice. Yeah, like what a prank.
Yeah.
It's like you prepare for so much going into these tournaments of like, you know, you have no idea what's going to happen. But I could have never predicted them having awarded me an Olympic gold medal and then taking it back. That is like unheard of. It was truly unprecedented.
So did it go that far? They did
not give me the medal.
They just give you a verbal.
Verbal. Everything was verbal. It was confirmed through so many groups. We were setting up media things. My parents were on their way over with champagne, which thank goodness I didn't drink any. This could have been way worse.
That could have been way worse, yes. Wow.
Yeah, so it was going far. I was getting congratulatory messages from people, which, you know, I feel so bad for them because they were like, congrats, oh my gosh, you deserve this. And then like awkwardly 2 hours later, they're like, you got this, good luck.
Psych.
Just kidding.
Oh gosh, that had to just totally play with your mind. Anyway, that is a great story. We're going to get into that in the second quarter. We're going to get to know Sarah from Indiana here in just a minute. But I'm glad you're here. I really am excited to unpack your journey from little girl in Indiana all the way to the Olympic stage in Paris, France.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here with us. Enjoy the show. We'll be back in a few minutes to talk to Sarah Hilderbrant. She's an Olympic gold medalist.
Woohoo!
All right, second quarter here, True North. Welcome back. I'm hanging out with a very cool young lady. Her name is Sarah Hilderbrant, and she now holds the title Olympic gold medalist. 50 kilogram. It never gets old. I'm sorry. Actually, it doesn't.
Not for me, but maybe for others.
No. You know what? How many people can say that?
Oh, gosh. Well, in my world, some. More than you would imagine, more than you would think you would know.
Yeah, but when you think about it, that's a limited number, a finite number of people can now walk around the planet and say, I'm an Olympic, first of all, an Olympian, right? And then an Olympic gold medalist. Oh. Okay. Well, let's get to know Sarah a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it starts in Granger, Indiana?
Well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, actually, but most of my childhood. Yeah, good old Memphis.
So bring us around.
Okay.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, I grew up I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, moved around a lot as a kid.
Oh, you did? Okay. Military or?
No, my dad was just climbing the corporate ladder. We were just moving around a bunch.
Got
it. It made me really close to my family, though. I'm one of 4 siblings. So since we were at new schools, like every year, it was like, okay, I'm not going to bother making friends. I'll just hang out with these crazies back at home. But it was actually, because we moved around so much, I was super shy girl. Like, very little confidence. Did not speak ever. Super quiet. I didn't have a lot of friends. So, which ended up just being crazy because I roll around, we moved to Indiana eventually, kind of decided to, all right, that's enough moving. Let's plant our roots here for a little, let the kids grow up and build a friend group out actually. And so it's just so crazy, 7th grade rolls around and I am a very quiet, shy girl. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to join the boys wrestling team.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
natural
as
progression.
One does,
Yes.
you know.
Okay.
No, I had my brothers wrestled, and
Oh, they were already
wrestling.
Got it.
And so I was drugged to all the tournaments, and I'm like, gosh, this is a snooze fest. I don't want to be here. Eventually, I just started watching, keeping stats to like entertain myself.
Got it.
Which forced me to watch it much more intently. And I'm like, wow, this looks fun. I could do this. This looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, they didn't have somebody small enough to fill the 65-pound weight class. And I was 65 pounds sopping wet in 7th grade, rocks in my pockets. Like,
very good.
So it was like, the coach came up to me. My older brother had already gone through the program. And they're like, look, just go out there and don't get pinned. It'll save us points. Who cares if you lose? If you don't get pinned, it saves us points still on the team score.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I could do this.
And this is Drew or Corey or both?
Corey had already gone through the program.
Got it.
Drew was in the wrestling world, and he was very talented. So they were familiar with my family. I think that's what gave them some belief that I could at least not get pinned.
Okay.
First day of practice.
It's in the genes.
Not exactly. Exactly. That's what we were hoping. First day of practice.
Hey,
though,
it works for
knocked
the
out
Manning
kids
family.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, I would love to say that's what we are in the wrestling world.
Maybe.
No. But yeah, it went way better than I could have ever envisioned. Won my first match, and gosh,
You won your first match?
won my first match, and they just didn't want me to get pinned.
Huh.
And I was like, let's go. I had no idea I even won. I was like in my stance, ready to keep going. And the ref's like, it's over. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, did I win? Like raises my hand.
Yeah.
I won.
Yes. So you got spoiled right out of the gate.
Right out the gate. I was
Okay.
like, intoxicated by it. So
That is cool.
yeah, 20 years later.
Do you remember who it was?
Oh, it was against, the middle school was called Concord Middle School. I don't know the kid's name.
And it was a boy.
It was a boy. So I wrestled
Okay.
boys all
So-
the way through high school.
I wonder if he's okay.
It's funny. In general, it was one thing going through high school. I think wrestling boys, beating boys, mixed reactions for sure.
Sure.
Once I won the Olympics, though, like so many of the boys that I had beaten in high school were like, I wrestled her. I used to wrestle that girl. So
now they're
it was all
trumpeting
good.
it.
Yeah. So they can have that now.
Gotcha. Well, I know Adeline, your peers in the 76 kilogram class. Adeline had this dynamic in her journey. So did Diamond Guilford. They both wrestled a lot of boys before they finally, before women's wrestling really became a more prolific sport.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what does it look like from that point on, from your that win was that 7th grade?
7th grade.
Yeah.
I know.
Your
God.
brothers must have been going nuts. Yeah. They were like, we just told you not to get pinned.
I know, right? I think I'm like amazed to this day how casual they were with it. They never seemed like, they kept it to themselves if they thought it was strange and they didn't like it.
Or it was awesome.
Or it was awesome. It was all, very sibling-like.
Very stoic.
They're like, we're not going to give her anything.
Too many props, yeah.
Exactly.
Got it.
But now they're like the biggest
Nice going,
supporters.
boys.
Yeah. No, now they're like the biggest supporters of all time. Like, just, they were the ones in the most tears weeping when we won. So it was super cool. But launched into my wrestling career at that point. From 7th grade on, I think people started, it had become an Olympic sport right when I had started, essentially. And people were like, for women, and they're like, you could go to the Olympics for this. They had no clue. So they're like, you're just the only girl wrestler I've ever met. I was one of 3 in the whole state of Indiana. So they're like, oh yeah, you could go to the Olympics for this. They had no idea the world and, how deep the talent actually was and if I was anywhere close to being good enough. So I think that was when the first seed got planted in my head. I'm like, I could go to the Olympics.
Did you really think that?
I don't think I had any clue either, like what that actually took or what that world was actually like. So I kind of believed it, but I don't think I was like, it was a dream that was coming from myself. It was just a dream that was kind of like told to me. So I was like, I'll eat that up a little. It took so many years for me to like make it a dream that was like truly from myself, you know?
Got it.
So
the high school years, what did they look like?
Oh gosh, they were brutal, but good and necessary.
Still wrestling boys or?
Still wrestling boys.
Okay.
And it was just a lot. My first 2 years, I feel like I was fighting for respect. My team and my coaches were incredibly, incredibly supportive, which was unique. A lot of the community was supportive too, which is not the experience of a lot of women wrestlers.
Got it.
So I was lucky in that regard. But it was still obviously incredibly taboo. So there was that. And then my next 2 years, my junior and senior year, I was cutting a lot of weight, doing it dumb and not smart. And it was just strange. It was a lot of learning about wrestling and trying to find my way through. And it was tough in ways. But, I made freaking lifelong friends. Those boys are my best friends to this day.
Well, and they got posters on the wall of you holding up your gold medal, I'm sure. So, but your team, they were supportive.
They really were.
Yeah.
And it was such a, there were a few people who were not.
Yeah.
But they were so overshadowed by people who were supportive. It was such a unique experience. Every girl I talked to, they're like, oh my gosh, that was not what it was like. So I was so lucky in that regard.
What about the sport draws you? Is it the strategy, the physicality?
Definitely all
something
those
else?
things. Yeah. I mean, as a kid, before I could put words to it, it was those things. I liked the strategic play of it. It is incredibly challenging physically. I loved that. Very type 2 fun here, like very miserable as you're doing it. And then you're done. You're like, that was awesome.
I can so relate to that comment.
Right? It's
Nice.
like
Yes.
so great. So then as I got older and I feel like I could reflect on it more, I really loved how it was such a mirror for like how I wanted to be as a woman and how I wanted to improve in aspects of that, And I felt like it showed me those qualities and how I was, if I was improving in them and how I could improve in them, and taught me self-reflection in such a way that's just improved me as a person.
Okay.
And I loved that. It's such a challenge. It's such a unique like medium to grow within. And then on top of that, it's just freaking fun. It is exhilarating.
Yeah. You're not miserable anymore.
Well, still type 2 fun.
Copy that. All right. So Nancy and Chris, mom and dad.
Yes, mom and dad.
So what were their thoughts in the early rounds through high school?
Okay, so actually I was at tennis lesson when the middle school coach called my parents to ask if they would be all right with me joining the wrestling team. And I was begrudgingly at the tennis lesson, which now I'm like, oh, wow, I should have given more to the tennis lesson.
No, not according to that.
Right, not according to this, that's true. But I stepped out of the tennis lesson. My mom's like, this coach called and, wanted to ask if we would be okay with this or whatever. And I was like, heck yeah, I will quit tennis this second. Let's go wrestle. Let's get wrestling. And my mom was kind of like, she was just unsure.
Sure, I would be too.
She was worried about how people would receive it and if I would be bullied and, just kind of putting attention on myself in a way she wasn't sure how it would be received. And it scared her for sure. And I think she wanted to say no.
Okay.
Because of that fear.
Yeah.
And I remember her just telling me later on in life, just kind of, she reflected like, you tell your kids, oh, you can do anything and chase down these dreams. And she was confronted with that, Oh gosh, here's her daughter asking to do anything. And who am I to tell her no?
Right.
And I think that ultimately pushed her into saying yes. And they kind of, prepared me. They're like, people might be mean or this might not be received well, or you could get really rude comments. You might be lonely, whatever.
Was she right?
She wasn't. But in some ways she was,
I mean, those things happened.
Those things happened, yeah.
Right.
But like I said, overwhelmingly, I just made the best friends of my life and was supported and ultimately, supported enough to win a gold medal at the Olympics.
Do you wrestle in college?
I wrestled in college, King University in Bristol, Tennessee.
Okay.
So.
All right. We're going to get to that in the third quarter.
Oh, gosh.
But before we go, I want you to hold that thing up.
Okay, I can hold that up.
I got to touch this too. I mean, this is really cool. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 gold medalist for 50 kilogram women's wrestling.
Yeah, you're good at that. That's nice.
Sarah Hilderbrant. We're back in a moment. All right, we're back here third quarter with United States Olympic wrestler and gold medalist, Sarah Hilderbrant. Welcome back. Hello. She's got the title Olympian and she's got the title gold medalist. She went over there and stole 2 medals out of Paris, 1 gold, 1 bronze. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what was the bronze?
The bronze was in Tokyo 2021.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, that was bronze medal.
Was that was your first Olympics?
First Olympics. Mm-hmm. And it was an odd one because of COVID.
Yeah, that's
Nobody
true.
was there.
That's true.
It was very strange.
Very weird.
So I was lucky enough to make another Olympic team, which thank goodness, because Paris was complete 180. And also because I won the next one. Yeah. So that's nice.
So there.
We'll take this.
Well, we're gonna backtrack because we were talking about Nancy and Chris and their support of you, of course, but also their parental concerns, right? Or mostly Nancy's, or
yeah, I would say no. It's probably both, but Nancy was the voice.
Okay, she was the voice.
Dad's in the background, doesn't want to be the bad guy.
I get it, Chris. Gotcha. So you got through it though, and ultimately she said, "You know what, Sarah, do it.
Do it.
If this is your bag."
Exactly, and it's so cool. I mean, it's just such a neat thing to hear from your parents and that support, in that way. Like and it's such a great lesson for kids too. Like despite the fear and the unknowing and this could be received badly, like go after it anyway.
Right on.
And that's not a lesson I was aware of when I was a kid. I was just like, let me do this. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
But now that I can sit here and talk about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, go mom and dad. Thank you for teaching me that.
Amen. So where do you draw your source of strength? I mean, family is clearly one anchor.
Yes, family, absolutely. I think that's really been the biggest piece is just kind of my family. And like I said, we moved around so much. I think that brought us really close. And then ultimately, I'm just very intrigued in this idea of, and I think we all are, and just like how you can be the best you, and that pursuit. And as I got older in my wrestling career, I realized how much wrestling could serve that purpose and could be a tool towards that endeavor, So that's really where I draw a lot of strength and where I want to put a lot of my passion and energy towards is like, okay, I have these values. How do I strengthen them? And how can I use wrestling to strengthen them? And that's kind of how I check back in every day. But certainly my family is kind of carrying me through that and keeping me somewhat sane through it all because there's a lot of misstepping along the way.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, life is bumpy and
very bumpy.
It's not
turbulent.
Always pretty.
Yeah, messy as can be.
Absolutely. Well, King College, Bristol, Tennessee?
Yes, Bristol, Tennessee.
Now King University,
yes.
Right? Okay. So that changed halfway through.
We became a university.
Very cool. So you were there for wrestling specifically? Were you on scholarship?
Yes, I was there on scholarship for wrestling. I guess I was going to get a degree in the meantime. No.
Might as well. Far out. So, and the degree was what?
Business and then a specialty in marketing.
Very good. So we'll unpack that later on. So wrestling, good experience, great experience. I mean, how did that lead to an Olympic discussion that was viable?
Yeah. You know what? That was where I had no idea at the time when I committed to this school, but I ended up going into a program that was just filled with just women who were on this Olympic pursuit, not a collegiate one.
Really?
So yeah, it was
King.
At King, yeah. And we put together such an insane room. It was so intense in there. It was so many number 1 top ranked wrestlers in the same room. And it was crazy.
Wow.
It was a lot of personality, a lot of ego, a lot of determination.
Well, sure.
So it was a good mixture. You had people who were pushing you.
Now, is this D2, D3?
D2, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so you had people who were pushing you and people who were like, I'm not here to win a college national title. I'll do that on my way, but I'm here to make an Olympic team. And so
the NCAAs were not really...
It was not even NCAA. Women's wrestling was not NCAA sanctioned.
Got it.
So we were, WCWA was what it was called.
Copy it.
And so all women's schools that had women's wrestling essentially wrestled each other, whether it was D3, whether it was NAIA, like things like that. We were all just thrown together because we're such a small amount.
Sure.
But, it was a cool experience. And I'm so glad I did it because I had the opportunity to just jump straight into this Olympic path. And I was like, no, I want to go to school. I want to experience that and wrestle for a team and chase these college titles while simultaneously working towards Olympic pursuits. So it ultimately served me so much. It was a crazy room filled with so much talent, and kind of just working within a team like that and being pushed like that. Oh my gosh. While being a student as well. That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
How did you do there with those gals?
Yeah. So we won, while I was there, we won 2 team national titles, and I won 2 individual national titles as well. So we took over.
Clearly. Wow. So when did the Olympic discussion first come to you? And who was it? And what did they say? And how did they approach that with you?
Yeah. As I was a kid, people would throw it out.
Sure. Yeah.
Not knowingly. And then, when I was a senior in high school, I started competing in senior level events for USA Wrestling. So these would be events that would lead to things like Olympic trials and US Opens, stuff like that. I did terribly. I would go 0-2. I was the youngest at these events. I competed in my first Olympic trials in my freshman year of college. Mm-hmm. And that was just because, I had a really great coach, Jason Mormon, who would take us to these senior level events. So I had qualified for the Olympic trials. And so the school actually funded these trips to these tournaments. And so competed in my first Olympic trials in 2012. I think I was the youngest person in the whole tournament. Yeah. And, you go to Olympic trials, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to go to the Olympics. This is it. So that kind of really started the pursuit, but I was not in anywhere striking distance at that time in my life. So lots of work had to be put in.
Where was the tipping point where it became a viable dream?
Later than people would assume. I was certainly working towards it all that time. And 2017 is when it became really real for me.
Okay. What happened?
So I dislocated my elbow in 2017 World Team Trials.
Ow.
Yeah, no fun. But it forced me out of the sport for about 6 months while I recovered. Mm-hmm. So I just remember doing a lot of reflection because, I was jolted out of my day-to-day routine. I was no longer, which I was just going through the motions in. But there was no self-reflection because I would just wake up, go to practice, eat, sleep, go to practice, boom.
Got it.
And so I think when that break came, it introduced a time for self-reflection. And I was like, girl, either make a change and let's go do this or be done. We've been doing this for years, over a decade. You don't really have much to show for it in terms of making teams. Medals, certainly no. Let's make a commitment right now or just be done. There's no shame in that, And so I made the commitment when I came back from my elbow injury, we're going to do this. And about 6 months later, I was ranked number 1 in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a big shift.
It was a big shift.
Yeah.
A lot of self-reflection.
So who was your inner circle at that point?
My family, obviously.
Got it.
I had a really close drill partner at the Olympic Training Center. And I started working with my coach, Coach Izzy, who ultimately went on to coach me for the next, 8 years and was in my corner in Paris. So we begun our work right around then. And
indeed.
I think he was a little unsure. He's like, I don't know where she stands commitment-wise, but, I think he could see kind of some raw talent. So I think he kind of, took a leap of faith and was like, all right, well, if she's going to do this, I'll be there for you, but you got to do it. And yeah, we just kind of poured everything into it. And gosh, it took many, many years, but
of course.
Craziness.
Yeah, all great journeys do.
Yes.
So you went from 53 down to 50. That was a big transition for you.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is.
It is.
So help us understand that.
Yeah, so I had actually started at 55, dropped down to 53, and the Olympic year for 2020, I was like, I think I want to go 50. I was walking around small for 53. We had 2 other really, really talented women who were planning on going 53 as well. We were all world medalists. So the coaches were like, absolutely not. We need to divide and conquer. I was the smallest of the 3. It was like, okay, let's give it a try. So made the decision and, dialed in nutritionally, which took a lot of discipline, and got to work with my dietitian on the whole, that side of everything, nutrition side. And it's kind of a year-long, lifelong things I needed to change in order to drop the weight in a way that was still going to make me strong.
Healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So
do you feel stronger at 50?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm huge. I'm giant.
I'm huge.
I'm absolutely huge.
But do you feel strong?
Yes. I feel strong for sure. And that's because I've just put in the work from the weight cutting perspective.
Yeah.
There are people, and you probably heard the crazy stories of how wrestlers cut weight, and it's insane. And there's, running in trash bags and spitting in cups, and which, that stuff is happening even at the highest level. So I just wanted to make it a way that it was like, okay, I'm going to lose this amount of weight and I'm going to take my sweet time doing it. It's going to take more discipline for a longer amount of time, but it's going to make me maximize, how much calories I can put in, how much energy I'm going to have, how much strength and muscle I still have. And ultimately it ended up being, I think, one of the reasons I won, had that weight cut really in control. So.
Okay. Well, when we come back, I really want to talk about that first time somebody said, Sarah, you're going to Tokyo. Woohoo! Or Sarah, you're going to Paris. Because they're both, you've been there, done that with Tokyo.
Yes.
Was Paris just as exciting?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Or
just
more?
As exciting. More because my family was going to be there. People were going to be there.
Yeah, people, yeah.
I knew it was going to be a vastly different
That had
experience.
to be so weird.
It was so strange.
Yeah.
So I was so excited for Paris. And plus, it's like people say, oh, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It's Paris.
And I'm like, let's go times 2. A twice-in-a-lifetime experience.
Okay. Well, have you ever been? Had you ever been to Paris?
I had, but not in
that capacity.
Not in that capacity for sure. And I was also we had gone for a training camp and I was all cranky. So I didn't get to experience the way I wanted to.
We'll leave cranky on the table. We'll come back to the gold medal that you took away from Paris in just a moment. Sarah Hilderbrant is with us, Olympic gold medalist from Paris. Back in a moment. All right, we're fourth quarter here with Sarah Hilderbrant, Olympic gold medalist from Paris. She's a 50-kilogram wrestler who took gold away from Paris.
From Paris.
That's so awesome, dude. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I asked you at the beginning, has it really sunk in yet? And you're like, no, not really. It doesn't yet.
I don't know if it ever will.
It may not.
Yeah, which I'm totally okay with. If it feels this magical forever, like what a treat.
Go with it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But do you find that people react to you differently? They tend to treat you a little differently, or is it pretty much the same?
I think people are super excited, which makes me feel so loved. And, people just want to celebrate and ask about it, and it's fun. I will relive this forever with anybody. So, but no, I think overall, at least people close to me, they're just like, yeah, we knew you always wanted to do this.
And you did it.
And we did it.
Your brothers must be going nuts.
My parents?
Your brothers in particular.
Oh, yes.
Because they wrestled.
Yes, exactly.
Amy didn't, right?
Amy, well, she wrestled kind of like intramurally club-wise and did some coaching.
So it really was a family.
It's a family affair.
Yeah.
It's a family affair for sure. No, they're beside themselves. And it's so awesome. It's so great to share with them because they've poured so much into my career.
Yeah.
And, a medal doesn't pay them back by any means, but it's just a cool, simple thing to share. And
I'm sorry, that was a little
theirs.
funny there. A medal.
A medal. Who wants this thing? Let me just toss it over to you.
See, ladies and gentlemen, and this is substantive.
Yeah, it's substantial. She's a thicky Nicky.
Yeah. Didn't see that coming. Yes, she's a thicky Nicky. Yes, that is gorgeous.
Thanks. No, it is.
Gosh, congratulations.
Oh,
buddy.
thank you so much.
Well, let's get to the first time Tokyo. Who was it that came to you and said, Sarah, you made the Olympic team. You're going to Tokyo.
So,
and what was that like?
Yeah. So we actually have our trials the year of the Olympics in April. So I had to win a best 2 out of 3 series. And so I won that 2 matches. And yeah, that's when I had secured my spot. And I cried like a little baby right there on the mat.
How old were you?
How old was I? 26?
26?
Yeah, 26. Because it's just so weird.
Yeah.
It feels like so long ago. 26 seems like such a baby
right.
when I'm 31 now, but it's like not that long ago.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was but a child.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was unreal. It was seriously, I just remember being on the mat being like, no way, no freaking way. Cried and cried and cried, stayed up all night with pure adrenaline and excitement. And And then like immediately after that, the stress set in.
Did you go to the opening and closing ceremonies?
Not in Tokyo because of COVID.
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot. They like only a few people went. It was I literally went to Tokyo and did not do any Olympic hoopla stuff. I just went and competed.
Okay.
It was very strange.
But you stole some medal out of there.
We got a medal out of it. It was my bronze medal. It was, I had lost in the semis I was up big. I think 7-0. Ended up losing the match in like the last 7 seconds.
Fatigue? What happened?
It was a mental thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it was complete mental. Just choked, really.
Okay.
And so it's traumatic.
So you learned from that?
I did. I actually spent the next 3 years pouring into the sports psychology side of it all.
Interesting. Do you remember what happened, or could you articulate that shift between, like you said, choking and now really having mastery of putting an end to that during a match?
Yeah. No, I think going into the 2021 Olympics, I was a machine. I had trained myself or thought to myself, like, you don't feel anything. Mm-hmm. You do what you have to do. This, and this. And then I lost and I felt like I was nothing because I had just like worked so hard. I was so disciplined. I had just squeezed out any ounce of humanity I had and just was this machine. And then I lost. I felt like I was nothing. Mm. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to commit to this again and risk getting my heart broken again, because I was so devastated.
So that's the way you put it, heartbroken.
Oh, God.
That's interesting.
Yeah, my heart was just in pieces. It was horrible. Horrible night that night when I had lost.
Even though you won bronze.
And then, well, I had come back and win the bronze medal, which was, a task all in of itself after I'd been so low from the loss. But I was like, okay, if I'm going to come back and do this, I need to inject humanness into this. I need to actually feel everything. I don't want to numb myself to this. I want to feel the spectrum of this, the lows, the highs, everything in between, the craziness, the intensity. And I spent the next 3 years kind of allowing myself to not judge any emotion that came up, to allow those emotions that came up.
Pretty intense.
It was a lot. And, it took a lot of work. I had a really great team around me and we allowed that. And that for sure, that mindfulness around what I was feeling and that openness to feel it all, absolutely why I was able to kind of deal with those intense emotions that come up when you could potentially either choke or handle them and do what you need to do.
It's a huge step forward, Sarah, that maturity to be able to swallow that, even at 26. That's still a young age. It is. I mean, because most people do when they're at that level of sport. You really try to marginalize some of those feelings and focus on the technical aspects of your sport. But you really let that in, and it was a game changer for you because you fast forward to Paris, right?
Yeah.
And here you are.
Right.
Now, the early rounds, did you feel you had momentum? I mean, was there a sense about your visit to Paris that this was a destiny trip?
Yeah, wow, I love that you say that. It did have such a magic feel to it. I think I was very present. About 3 days before the Olympics, I had wrote in my notes app on my phone, like, I'm going to win the Olympics off vibes. Like, I can feel it. Like, I'm vibing. I feel this. I'm vibing. I'm going to win this. Right on. I could feel it.
Yeah, you say that about Drew a lot, too. You're vibing.
I'm vibing. Yeah. We're vibing. Drew has the vibes for sure, which is why we work so well together. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool experience like that. And I did feel like I had some momentum. I had really, really tough opponents going the first day to get to the finals. And I just felt so present in those matches. And that was what was missing in Tokyo. So it was good. I had grown tremendously, I felt.
Clearly. All right. So day of the finals. So this was a weird day.
So weird.
All right. So give us kind of the high and low points, because this really went from elation to, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
To elation again.
Yes.
Walk us through it.
Okay. So I had weighed in at about 8 a.m. My opponent from India was not there. We have about a 30-minute window, so I figured she was still getting weighed off. I leave. I get a call about 15 minutes later. She had missed weight, so she can't compete. That's automatic disqualification if you miss weight. They're like, you win because it's a forfeit. I'm like, okay, let's get this make sure it's checked, That's a big thing to tell someone. Mm-hmm. They go, they get it checked through a lot of channels. Lawyers are involved, so many different groups, United World Wrestling, USA Wrestling. There's so many people involved. Yes. We get checks across the board. Good. You win. You're Olympic champ. I'm in the cafeteria at the Village eating my pre-competition breakfast. And then I'm like, well, I collapsed on the floor in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is weird. I don't know if this is how I wanted to win, but I am now.
That's what I wondered. Yeah,
it's like such a mixture, but also like I did my job. Sweet. Yeah, exactly. I'll take this. Let's go. So the celebrations begin. It's all across the board. We're planning media things. It's just insane. About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they're like, you are going to have to wrestle tonight. Oh. So
what time was
pack
that?
Your shoes. It was about 11 o'clock, and I was going to wrestle at 7. So we had about 7-8 hours to start.
It's a good thing you didn't start sipping champagne.
That's exactly. We were about to start popping bottles, celebrating, spraying all about. But yeah.
So what happened on the other side with your opponent? I mean, what happened there?
So exactly. What ended up happening was, and this is unprecedented, never happened in Olympic wrestling history. So craziness. They took the woman who lost to my opponent in the semifinals and bumped her to the finals. And that's who I wrestled. She was from Cuba. And on we went.
Okay.
And so it was a game of refocusing very quickly and jumping back into my plan.
I mean, obviously legal, obviously fair, and you wanted to close the games out.
Absolutely.
By finishing out.
Yeah, I was excited. I love wrestling. I was there to wrestle. I didn't care who stepped in front of me.
Yeah.
So, my opponent changed. The mission did not.
The mission did not. Love it.
On we went.
Okay. And halfway through the match, where are you at in your head?
I felt pretty comfortable the whole match. Okay. I was definitely being conservative, but it was fine. I didn't feel super threatened, so I put my points on the board. No, I didn't need to do more. There was a weird mixture of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an Olympic champion. This is amazing. But let's focus. Don't screw this up, girl. But then there was there was also though like this, oh my gosh, this is so fun. I could wrestle this match forever. Like, I don't want this to end. I'm having so much fun. And it was such a strange thing because it was like, I knew as soon as that buzzer ended, I was going to be the Olympic champion. But it also meant it was going to be done.
It was over.
So it was such a strange combo. But, we went to celebrate.
I want to give you a good minute here to shout out to the people that mattered most, meant the most, shepherded you through this.
15 minutes. No.
I understand. But
No. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, obviously my family, my brother Drew was my training partner. My coach Izzy, he's believed in me and helped me in so many ways. My community, and it's really just been such a group effort. My sports psychologists.
Very good.
Just so many people. It's truly such a group effort. I can't even begin to thank people. The medal doesn't do it justice. Absolutely not.
Understood. So you now live in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Is this home?
This is home for a good foreseeable future, I believe. And I wouldn't mind, forever either. It's beautiful here.
It's pretty cool here. And then there's a special gentleman in your life, Donathan.
Yes.
Yes. And he's an Olympian as well?
So no, he was a gymnast for Team USA.
Okay.
For many years, and we met at the Olympic Training Center, as one does.
As one does.
And yeah.
Well, Drew, Corey, Amy, Nancy, Chris, you should be very proud, obviously. It's been a real treat to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming in. Wish we could do this a little bit longer, but I've been hanging out with gold medalist and Olympic champion, Sarah Hilderbrant from Paris. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
See you next week, folks.